Welcome to Family Gamer TV. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know what this is. Splatoon for the Wii U. It's a new kind of third-person shooter. Rather than shooting bullets, you're shooting paint. As you can see here, we've got some split-screen action going on, and what it's showing is how your character can either traverse the world as a person or as a squid. The type of character you're transformed into affects how you move around the level. If you're in the squid form, you can move through the paint that you shot. It all gets kind of complicated and kind of messy, but that's half the fun. And I think for families, this non-violent sort of paint action is much more suited. So let's have a look in more detail at how the game plays out. So here we are, we've got squid on squid turf war. You can see a game in action. Now each of these teams are trying to shoot the other players to get more points and to get more paint over the arena, and also to get more scores against those opponents. And as you can see, the two teams of four fight each other to aim to get the most turf and to cover the most of the level with their colour of paint. And of course they're doing that with a whole range of different weapons. We'll look at those a bit later. Then you have these battle stages. Here we have Urchin Underpass. You can see several areas. Now they're split up with concrete walls, so you have to pay attention to how the level's laid out so that you know which routes to go and how to get those choke points and take control of the level to get your win. Now to do that, you've got a whole range of different weapons, and as you can see up close, these characters are carrying different equipment and carrying different weapons, and how you set your character up not only affects how they look but also affects how they appear in the game. Now first off, you can customise your character. I know my daughter's going to love this, to make them your own guy or your own girl in the arena. Loads of different tops, bottoms, hats, and this gives you that real sort of degree of customization. But that real point of action are the weapons. You've got shooters, chargers, and then the third category, which is rollers. Now this breaks down all the different weapons in the game into these three different categories. So first up we have the shooter. This is a splatter shot, obviously rapid fire. You hold it largely in one hand. It sort of has that sort of Super Soaker style quick action shot. Good for close combat as well as a bit of ranged. So if you come across an enemy, you can take them out, but equally you can cover the arena in paint. Now here we got an aero spray, much more of a continued burst of paint, and you can see how the arena here is getting covered in paint much quicker. It's short range, so you don't want to be aiming at players too far away, but here we are, Jet Squelcher. This is the one that you want to use when you're going for a long range hit. Now it's not as good at covering the area with paint, but it's much better at taking out enemies that are further away. Finally, we've got the blaster, sort of real close combat type weapon, and the bullets when shot then explode on impact. So you can see here, if we get the shot in, he gets absolutely covered in paint. That brings us on to the next set of weapons called chargers, the first of which we're going to look at the splat charger. Now it takes a little while to charge these up, so you can't rapidly fire them, but you charge it, hold your finger down, let go, and then it lets off a real chain of paint. You can see they're slightly more powerful than those shooter weapons, but they do take longer to charge. Elita 3K here, and again it's a charge weapon. It's got a longer charge, but the range here is really far. You can see right across the arena, you can take out the enemies. Get a bit of paint there too, but really it's about taking out those enemies. Splatterscope. This is super range, and it does charge a bit, but the charging isn't as long as some of the other charge weapons. But you have that scope where you can really zoom in, there you go, take out the roller guy. Which brings us on to that final category of weapons, the rollers. Now these are ones which are designed to just cover the turf with paint, but as you saw there, you can also just roller straight over your opponents, and if they get covered in paint, they're going to be out of the game. Dynamo roller, this is massive. It's absolutely unstoppable, a real sort of tank type weapon. You can also shake it to do a projectile splat of paint, so it has that sort of secondary weapon as well. So that's the three types of main weapon, but we've got other aspects that you can customise your character with, sub-weapons and special weapons. Now the way these combine affects your range, your charge speed and your mobility, and how your player is going to play in the game. So there's a lot more detail here than I expected when I first saw Splatoon back at E3. So here, let's have a look at some sub-weapons. These are real sort of special effects. You can lay down paint mines, little homing missiles like this, the Seeker. And as you can see, this adds a lot more variety to the game as well. A splash wall, that's just like a kid's playground as you walk under it. The suction bomb you can pop onto a wall, then when a player goes by it, it will then explode. We've got a burst bomb here. You can see you can toss it over obstacles, and if it touches an enemy, it explodes and covers it in ink. If you keep throwing them, they sort of add up one on the other. We have our point sensor here. So it's not an attack weapon, but it shows you where your enemies are. You can see that little spinning disc around gives away the location of enemies. I like this one, the ink mine. Now my son's really sneaky at these sorts of games. I suspect he'll be using these, dropping mines. So when an unsuspecting enemy comes by like that, the blue guy got absolutely splashed in paint. Now here we are, the squid beacon. You pop them down and it's a way to call your comrades over. They can super jump right across the arena to where you are. Then finally the disruptor. If you get that on an enemy, it slows them down and also saps their abilities too. Now this brings us to the final category, special weapons. Now I really like this because it adds a real sense of variety to the game. You have to fill that charge gauge before you can use them. So these are real special effects that you're only going to use probably 1 or 2 times in a match. But the variety that they add here, look at that, massive, like a tornado of ink. Lots of these will use the gamepad screen to apply where they land. Here it's like calling in support fire in a sort of Call of Duty game, but in here of course it's paint rather than bullets. And an echolocator, like we said before, you can see exactly where all the enemies are. If you combine that with a ranged sniper, you're going to have got a character that's going to be really effective in these multiplayer matches. Bubbler is like a bubble shield, so maybe something we've seen a little bit in Halo, if you're familiar with that. Also, it can be applied to teammates too, so you can protect your other team members. Kraken, you've got a degree of invincibility, a massive invincible Kraken. So there you go. Main weapon, sub-weapon and special weapon. They combine to determine what your customised character plays like. Now another part of Splatoon is of course Amiibos. Now Nintendo wouldn't be doing a new game without Amiibos, and there are some special ones for Splatoon. So we have Inkling Girl, really cute. Gonna kick some Inkling butt. We've got Inkling Boy. These two in single packs. And then we've also got, of course, our Inkling Squid Amiibo. Now these come in different packs. There's also a triple pack you can buy too. As you can see, bring them in and they each offer their own special 20 missions. So Inkling Girl will bring you 20 different ink charger weapons levels where you have to use that weapon. The Inkling Boy has a series of challenges you have to complete with a roller. And the Squid Amiibo, bring him in and you have a combination of those different challenges. Also, ones with limited ink. It's nice. So I like that way that by having those Amiibos, you're expanding not only the game itself, but also the levels and challenges you've got. Complete those challenges, you get special gear that you could only get if you had that Amiibo added into the game. So there you go, that's our roundup of Splatoon. As well as that initial content, there will be post-launch content that will bring 4-player teams to bear. So you have private 8-player matches with friends. Also this Splatfest feature that's going to add new maps, new battles, and will pit different teams worldwide against each other. There's even a global test fire demo you can download and play in particular sessions on Saturday the 9th of May, ahead of the 29th of May launch. But there you go, that's all we've got time for, but that's Splatoon on the Wii U.